Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be learning about conditional statements and loops by Coding for Kids. So let's get started. First, we're going to be learning about the overview and what we're going to be doing in today's video. So first, we're going to be looking at conditional statements. So those are like if, else. And then we're kind of be going over like what each one means and like going more in depth in each one. Then we're going to be learning about loops, the for loop and the while loop. And we're going to go like in depth in both of them, in for and while, and what they mean. And finally, we're going to be doing some coding, and we're going to be testing everything out and seeing how they look like in code. So let's get started. What are conditional statements? So when you program, you tend to code a different action with different decisions. Conditional statements help you with this. There are three types of conditional statements: if else, and else. So you can see right here, we start and then we have our condition. For example, let's say, is Ritika like 12? And if that's false, we use the else block. So we'll have some code. So if Ritika is not 12, do this. But if she is 12, then do this. So that's if and else. And then that's the end of our code. So those are conditional statements. And you can see right here, we go more in depth in each one. So the if statement is used to specify a block of code to be executed if a condition is true. So if the condition is true, like if Ritika is 12, then do that. And the else statement is used to specify a block of code to be executed if a condition is false. So let's say Ritika is not 12, then you would execute these types of code. The if-else statement is used to specify a new condition if the first condition is false. So you can kind of see it in both of these, sides in this picture. So if the condition is true, so the number is 5, and you can see if the number is greater than 0, which it is, then do this code. Else, do this code, and then code after if else. And then if the condition is false, so you can see the number is 5, and the number is not less than 0, so it's gonna go directly here. And you can kind of see the arrows because the code, it's gonna be going here. So this is the code we're actually doing. We're gonna skip this part because the condition is true. So we're doing this code. And you can see in these arrows, the condition is false here. So our arrow is gonna skip this code and it's gonna go directly to this code. So I hope that makes sense. And you'll kind of see it more when we do the coding. Then loops. So loops are typically used when you want to repeat the same code over and over again, each time with a different value. There are two major types of loops: while and for loops. And these are more specific types of while and for loops that we'll get into a later video. But we have the while loop, do while loop, for of loop, and for in loop. Again, we'll go over that in a different video. So for and while loops. The for loop loops a block of code a number of times specified by the programmer. So you can see we have our values, which I'll show you guys more in the coding, but we have specific values and then we have our code, and it goes for a number of times. For example, let's say you wanted to repeat a piece of code for like 3 times, then you would do this. You would say like how much like your increasing value is, what you're starting at, what you're ending at. So there are 3 major types of values. You have your starting value, or like what number you're starting at. So let's say 0. Then your ending value, let's say, is 3, and then you're increasing by 1. So you would have like some values as 1, 2, and 3 because you're increasing by 1 each time. So that's kind of like the for loop. You can choose the number of times you do it. The while loop is a loop that it does it a number of times while the specified condition is true. So once that is not true, it stops the loop. It breaks it. So for example, let's say do this loop until the I guess, number of cookies is greater than 10. So we'll go like 1 cookie, 2 cookie, 3 cookie, 4 cookie, 5 cookie, 6 cookie, 7 cookie, 8 cookie, 9 cookie, 10 cookie, and then we have 11 cookies. And the 11 cookies is greater than 10. So now the like condition is true, so it would break the loop. It would stop getting more cookies because it's already true, so our loop would stop. So this is like you kind of specify the number, and this one you kind of do it until it's true. So those are the two major types of loops. Now it's time for coding. So it wasn't that much to really learn. They're two easy, like very easy concepts. So now we're going to be getting over into loops and also conditional statements. Okay, so these are the conditional statements. So here you can see that in our script, we have A equal to 100 and B equal to 10. And C is equal to A plus B, so that would be 110. So if C is greater than 100, which it is because C is equal to 110, you would write C is greater than 100. Else if C is less than 100, which it's not because that's false, you would write C is less than 100. So if we run our code, C is greater than 100, which is it. It is because A plus B is equal to 110. Now, let's say we did, I'm just going to make this 90 and B as 95. And if we run it, it's going to say C is less than 100 because if you add 90 plus 5, that would equal to 95. So this is our if, else, if, and you can even use else too here. It doesn't really matter. It works the same way, really, if I run it. But yeah, it pretty much works the same way. There's not that much of a difference. You do need to change it up a little bit, which I forgot about. But yeah, there's not much of a difference. So you can see the application of if and then else if. So now we're going to be looking at for loops and what those are. Okay, so here we have a for loop. So we can see we just have a little heading. And then right here in our script, we have an empty text variable. And then here it says for, and it says let I equal 0. So that is our starting value. We're starting with 0, and I should be less than 5. So if it's going to be less than 5, it'll only go up to a 4, because if we put it as 5, then 5 is not less than 5, so it really here it'll only go up to 4. If you wanted to go up to 5, we can put 6 here, but I'm just going to keep it as 5. And then you can see if it has I plus plus, that means it's going to increase by 1. So here we have text is equal to the number is, and then we're going to add I. So that is the number. So here we can see our variable, it's 0 and it's increasing and we're adding. So each time our for loop increases by 1, it's going to say the number, and that's why there's I there. And then we have a little break, so it'll leave a space. And then it's going to go into the we're going to write it out in the text. That's pretty self-explanatory. So when we run it, it's going to say the number is, and then it's going to say the number. Now we could even increase this and put it as 6. So then it's going to go all the way until 5, and it'll keep on doing that. If we put 11, it's going to print it out 10 times. So we could keep on increasing the number and playing around with it. But that is a for loop. And finally, we're going to be going over the while loop. Now here is our while loop. We have a little heading again, then we have a paragraph, and then inside we have an empty text, and then we have I as equal to 0. Then while I is less than 10, you're gonna make the number increase by 1. You can see right here. So it's basically the same code as the for loop. So if we run right here, you'll see that it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, and then it goes all the way till 9. And then it can't print out 10 because if it does, 10 is not less than 10, so it stops at 9. If we put it here as 11, it's gonna go until 10. You can see right here, and 10 is less than 11, but 11 is not less than 11, so it's not going to print out like number is 11 because it's not. So that is the while loop. It's pretty much kind of the same as for loop, except for loop you can kind of change how many times you want it to go, and while loop it just does it until the statement is true. So that is the while and for loop, and it's also conditional statements. Okay, so for review, we learned about conditional statements. So if, else, then we learned about what each one means. Then we learned about loops and the for and the while loops specifically, and we learned about what each one meant then. And then finally, we did some coding for the for, while, and conditional statements. So guys, that was it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!